Comptroller Mark Schroeder. Mayor of Niagara Falls Paul Dyster. Common Council President Richard Fontana. County Legislature Lynn Marinelli. County Legislator Betty Jean Grant. And my colleague from the University at Buffalo, President Satish Tripathi. I have a few remarks. By all accounts, this was an incredible, successful session, and New York State government continues to deliver results for the people of this state as it has for the past 2.5 years. Since taking office, the governor has taken bold steps to ensure that our SUNY schools play a key role in revitalizing our upstate economy. That is why he created the SUNY 2020 grants and made sure that academics from all fields were asked to participate in the regional economic development councils. The governor knows that our SUNY system is one of the jewels of this state, and that by working with New York State businesses, we can prepare our young people and our entire population for the jobs of tomorrow. In his 2013 State of the State address, the governor expanded his economic agenda to focus on innovation with a plan that revolves around SUNY and places our world-class universities at the center of the state's economic development strategy. Building on the success of the regional councils and New York SUNY 2020 initiatives, the governor created new innovation hotspots and launched a $50 million state-run venture capital fund to help market the technological innovations created at our SUNYs. And this year, the governor has focused on job growth, especially in upstate New York, with a trifecta of initiatives that will bolster economic growth, spur job creation, and bring upstate back. It has truly been an honor to work with the governor and his team, and I thank him for his dedication to ensuring that our higher education institutions continue to be the best in the nation and are linked with economic development. Thank you, Governor. It is now my pleasure to introduce Assemblyman Sean Ryan.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here today, and thank you very much, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here today at Buffalo State College, one of the many great SUNY schools here in Western New York. Several of my Assembly colleagues are here today. I'd like to introduce them to you. We have Assemblywoman Crystal Peoples-Stokes. Assemblyman Dennis Gaberzak. Assemblyman Joe Giulio. We have Assemblyman John Soretto. Over the past 2 years, we have seen an unprecedented focus by the governor to ensure that the state government is working for the people of New York. And I think that this past session is proof positive that state government is functioning at a new level. It's been quite a long time since we in our state have lived up to our potential that we all know exists. The dysfunction of state government in the past was a hallmark of New York State. We became the butt of jokes and some much-deserved ridicule. But now, the governor of our great state has helped bring our government where it should be. Just 2 months ago, the governor and the legislature passed their third consecutive on-time budget, something that has not been done in 30 years in New York State. In this budget we passed this year, we improved our investment in education. We created $1 billion affordable housing program that's already working to preserve and create over 14,000 affordable units, which will create jobs and stabilize distressed areas. When you think of the state budget of yesteryear, you used to think of financial gimmickry. Somehow the accountants told us our budget was working. We now have a very straightforward budget, and we know what it means. If it says it's balanced, it's balanced. If it says it's on time, it's because it was on time. That's because Governor Cuomo has done what he promised to do, deliver results for the people of New York, and that is especially true here in Western New York. Since taking office, our governor has fought to make New York a true leader on progressive issues, addressing social injustices that still permeate our society. 2 years ago today, the governor signed into effect marriage equality. It's a law that restored New York's legacy as a progressive leader. And you know what it did? It sparked a national movement. Since New York acted to ensure marriage equality for all of our citizens, 5 more states have followed suits, and now 12 states have acted to ensure fairness and equality, and more are on the horizon each and every day. In this year's budget, we made New York fairer for our working families. We did that by raising the minimum wage, something that was long overdue in New York State. This session, we have once again shown the rest of the country that New York is a progressive capital of the nation and the beacon of fairness. Thank you. I would like to introduce my colleague in government from the Senate side, Senator Mark Santi.
Morning, everybody. On behalf of the 60th District Governor, I want to welcome you, warm welcome back to Buffalo. I'd like to acknowledge a couple of senators, colleagues of mine that are here, Senator Patrick Gallivan and New York State Senator Tim Kennedy. You know, the governor's been to Western New York quite often the past few months, and with 3 consecutive, as Sean Ryan stated, on-time budget, it closed, ladies and gentlemen, closed multi-billion-dollar gaps with no new taxes and held the line on spending. Governor Cuomo and the legislature have transformed Albany as it is now into a rational model and a national model of effectiveness and efficient government. And for that, I want to thank you, Governor. In the last 2 years, we reformed the state tax code and reduced taxes for more than 4 million middle-class New Yorkers to the lowest point in 60 years. We also passed the first-time ever property tax cap so that New York residents and businesses could afford to stay in New York. And now, for the first time in decades, upstate New York is getting the attention it deserves. Our legislative session just ended in the wee hours of Saturday morning, approximately 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. It was by all means another successful and productive session. For decades, ladies and gentlemen, upstate New York has been on a severe economic decline while Albany looked the other way. In order to end that trend, the governor has introduced 3 bills that get to the heart of the economic issues for upstate. Those that ail municipalities, tourism, and taxes. These bills are entirely dedicated to the growing of upstate economy. We ended century-old Indian nation disputes that have cost upstate localities millions in revenue. We're going to take advantage of New York's growing tourism industry by creating new resort destinations across upstate and creating a financial restructuring board to help local governments avoid bankruptcy. And I think it's clear now, if it wasn't before, that Governor Cuomo has done more for upstate New York than any other governor in modern history. During the last 29 months, the governor has kept his promise and shows that he is here to represent the interest of those who matter most. You, everybody in this room, and everybody in the state and upstate. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the co-chair of the Western New York Region Economic Development Council, Howard Zemsky.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Grisanti. It's great to see the governor back in Buffalo. Again. And again. And yet again. We're going to get you an apartment in Buffalo. In Larkinville. That was cheesy. We have not had a governor focused on economic development like Governor Cuomo has in a very, very long time. And let's be perfectly honest. We have not had a governor focused on upstate New York and western New York as Governor Cuomo is ever. From his first days in office, he set out to reverse New York's well-deserved reputation as the tax capital of the nation with an aggressive tax-cutting agenda. And in our case, and in our case alone, the governor recognized that our city and region was in desperate need of support. And after half a century of decline, the governor said, "No more, not on my watch. We're not doing that any longer." And he made an unprecedented commitment to Western New York, the Buffalo Billion, funds that are being used to revitalize Buffalo's regional economy. And this year, the clear winner of this legislative session was again upstate. More specifically, upstate businesses and universities. The Startup New York Act, the Casino Bill, and the Financial Restructuring Board will undoubtedly give upstate New York much needed financial support that has been lacking for decades. Over the past 29 months, business owners across the state have had more input and access into how to grow their region's economy and New York State's economy through the Regional Economic Development Council's strategic, decentralized approach to economic development that is a complete sea change for the better for our economy and New York's economy. The governor listened to us, works with us, and continues with dogged determination to give us the tools necessary to grow our businesses, create jobs, and keep jobs in New York. I want to thank the governor for his continued partnership and his extraordinary leadership. It is now my pleasure to introduce the governor of the great state of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back in Buffalo, pleasure to be at Buffalo State, apartment at Larkinville. That intrigues me on a number of levels. First, I would love to be able to call up the landlord and just complain a lot. But I would love to. I really would love to. And I am spending enough time, probably be cheaper just to rent an apartment than all this going back and forth. Buffalo State, thank you very much. Provost, thank you very much, Dennis, for the hospitality today. To my colleagues who are here on the Assembly and the Senate, welcome home. We just finished a long legislative session in Albany, so we all just got home, as you heard from Senator Grisanti, Saturday, Sunday. I walked in the door. I had a whole to-do list of things I had to do around the house, so some things never change. Close one list, you open a new list. But it was good to be home, and especially good to get home after a productive session where you did what you set out to do, and you come home knowing that you did a good job and with a proud record of accomplishment. And that's what I feel about this legislative session. And you heard from Assemblyman Sean Ryan and Senator Grisanti. Their colleagues are here. I am now going to take full credit for everything that we got done. And I don't feel bad about that. I want you to know. I take the credit because when it goes wrong, I get all the blame. You never notice they get blamed on the nightly news when it goes bad. It's me. So I'll take the credit this time also. But in truth, as long as we're alone in this room, what is working in Albany is the partnership that we have. And we said to each other when we were starting 2 years ago, Democrats and Republicans, we had looked at the years of gridlock that were in Albany and the years of dysfunction and what was going on in some other governments around the country that were just gridlocked and were just frozen and paralyzed. And we said, look, we have to do it a different way. And let's leave the politics at the door. We're Democrats, we're Republicans, but we're New Yorkers first. Let's act that way, and let's deliver for the people of this state. And I tell you, kudos to your delegation, because we had some tough issues that we had to deal with. We have some issues we're still dealing through. But a lot of laws that had to be passed. We had to deal with casino issues. We had to deal with gaming issues and Indian issues and making arrangements with Indians. We have to deal with the Peace Bridge. And we deal with all these tough issues together. And when we are together and your delegation is together, it makes the state so much stronger in dealing with these situations. And the people of Buffalo and Western New York have actually benefited. So let's give them a round of applause one more time. I'm really here to sign the bill. That's all I do now. But I wanted to give you a little context, if I could, on some of the accomplishments over the legislative session. And first, before we begin, you have to remember where we were. Seems like a lifetime ago. But just 2 years ago, remember where Albany was. Remember the dysfunction. Remember the years and years of them playing out a saga of where a government didn't work. In 2 years, we brought back a basic competence, a basic stability. The government is functioning once again. We had a hat trick with 3 on-time budgets in a row, which we're proud of, because you remember what the budget used to be. The budget used to be that snapshot of total dysfunction in Albany, right? Every year was the annual ritual. About a week before the budget, they would start to do news broadcasts. Is the budget going to be on time? Is it going to be on time? 1 week. And they do a countdown, 5 days, 3 days. And then you'd get to the actual date when the budget was supposed to be on time, and lo and behold, it's going to be late. And then it was on the other side. Then it's 1 week late, 2 weeks late, latest budget in history. And that was the metaphor. That's what people knew about their government. It's what frustrated them. It's what made them angry. It was the arrogance of their government, you know. Their government didn't have to function on time. You have to function on time, right? What if it became tax time and you said, you know what, I didn't agree about what the taxes should be this year. My wife and I had a disagreement, so we didn't pay them. But making government work, making government accountable, and the budgets in many ways are a metaphor for that. We passed the property tax cap to finally give taxpayers relief across the state. A full teacher evaluation system is in place. They talked about this for years. Major tool to evaluate public education, which everyone says is a priority. First, evaluate. What works, what doesn't work? What schools are working, what schools aren't working? What teachers are working, what teachers aren't working? Help the teachers who need help, and reward the teachers who are doing well. They talked about it for years. Nobody could get it done. Every school in the state of New York this year has a teacher evaluation system. We talk about New York as the equality capital of the world, and we passed marriage equality, and others follow. So at the beginning of this year, we said that New York is rising, that we are on the way back, and we said we wanted to now take it to the next level, not just about competence and performance, but bringing up the game. We have twin priorities. For those of you who don't know, that is a twin. Have one on my Harley. 2 priorities: social progress and fiscal responsibility. On the social progress side, we started with the New York Safer Act, common sense gun control to make New York State safer finally. We passed that back in January. To make New York fairer, we raised the minimum wage so people can work full-time, can actually pay the rent and eat, and don't have to choose between the two. We said we were going to make New York cleaner, and we did, with one of the most aggressive environmental agendas that raises money for the Environmental Protection Fund, lowered the Reggie cap, bringing in a new charging system for electric vehicles because we want to lead the nation. On the fiscal progress side, we started with capping the government spending at 2%. That's what drives everything. If you keep the government spending low, then you have money to do other things. And what did we do with it? We gave it back to the people who put it in the first place. Middle class tax cut, lowest tax rate in 60 years in the state of New York. The regional economic development councils that are working extraordinarily well, they're working very well here. Western New York, there you see, you can't see Satish, he's hiding behind the piston on the left, but you see Howard Zemsky, who I want you to know knocked over 3 people trying to get next to Maria Bartiromo. I'm just saying. Knocked the lieutenant governor right on his hiney. New York State economy is stronger. We passed SUNY 2020, which invests in the higher education SUNY system across the state. And we were right when we pledged $1 billion to Buffalo to get the economic development up and running. We do want to take it to the next level now and focus on upstate and upstate New York's economy as a separate top priority. Because, look, this state has a number of economies, but there's 2 basic trajectories. Downstate New York has basically been doing well. Little fits and starts and hiccups with the rest of the economy, but the basic trajectory is up. The upstate economy is the exact opposite. The basic trajectory has been down and has been down for a long time. Not just compared to downstate New York, where it trails. Upstate New York has been trailing the nation, 1/3 of the national job growth average over the past 10 years. That's a plight. We all know it. Address it and confront it, because you're never going to solve a problem you're unwilling to address, right? And make it a top priority, which is what we want to do this year. And take the efforts that we've been putting in place and actually now take them to a new level. And we have a 3-part economic agenda that starts with the Financial Restructuring Board that says, look, you have upstate cities that we basically have been pumping money into every year. More and more money from the state, little by little, where now it is a significant portion of their budget. Buffalo, 1/3 of the budget comes from the state. Syracuse, 24%, Rochester, 18%, Yonkers, 25%, but still, the budgets aren't working, and the budgets aren't really balanced. Why? Because the expenses are still higher than the revenue that's coming in. Let's once and for all acknowledge the reality, acknowledge the problem, and do a restructuring of these governments so they are financially solvent. Because just putting your finger in the hole year after year and more money, more money, more money, without actually resolving the problem is accomplishing nothing. That's what the Financial Restructuring Board is all about. It's going to be a joint task force. Everyone's on it. The Assembly's on it. The Senate's on it. The Attorney General, the Comptroller. The city will come before the restructuring task force. Let's once and for all come up with a financial plan to get the city on the sound footing so the taxpayers aren't just bailing it out. We're investing in a city that's growing. And that's what we want to do as step 1. Step 2 is to invest in resort gaming destinations. This is not just casinos. These are casinos that are used to fuel resort destinations. Large, multi-million-dollar complexes that bring tourists from across the region, if not from across the state, and generate jobs on a regional basis. I believe there's a tremendous market in downstate New York that is now going to Atlantic City. They're going to Connecticut. I want to get those 50 million New York City people and tourists and get them coming north and bringing their tourism dollars upstate. And I believe casinos are a way to do it. Right now, we're losing out to all the casinos that are surrounding the state. They got there first, they built, they're regulated, and a lot of our dollars are going to out-of-state casinos, and that has to change. We also took the time to resolve the Indian gaming issues that we had across the state that went on for many, many years, where the tribes believed the state had violated the compact. It got complicated. They were in court, and they were in court for many, many years. The only thing that was happening was we were making the lawyers rich. We were starving the local governments. We made an agreement with the Senecas, for example, that now the Senecas once again are paying for the casinos. Niagara Falls is up $90 million. That's why Paul Deister's been smiling for a week. And we resolved it not just with the Senecas, but we also had two other gaming compacts that were out of compliance, one with the Mohawks and one with the Oneidas, and we've resolved all three for the first time. These agreements literally bring hundreds of millions of dollars to the local governments in their area. There'll be a referendum on the casinos on the November ballot, and we have to get that passed, and we have some time for that, but that can make a significant difference, driving tourism for upstate New York, which is the economy. There are three regions that will be cited for casinos, light blue, yellow, and the orange. The other parts of the state are where Indian gaming compacts are in place. Casino revenues will go to every county for education or property tax relief in the state. Third point, what is the single greatest obstacle to economic development in the state? If you take a focus group, if you ask a businessman on the corner, if you ask a survey, why do businesses leave and why don't businesses come? The answer is the same, it's high taxes. You'll get a second answer, high regulation. You'll get a third answer, but number one, far and away, is high taxes. What is the best thing we can do for upstate New York if the issue is high taxes? The best thing we could possibly do is reduce the taxes to zero. Well, that is exactly what the Startup New York program does. It takes these SUNY campuses and makes them entrepreneurial tax-free communities. SUNY campuses, there are 64 statewide, 55 of them are in upstate New York. The SUNY campuses were done and redone by Governor Rockefeller. He was investing heavily in downstate New York, the Port Authority, the World Trade Center, etc. So the state was spending a lot of money in downstate, and Governor Rockefeller said to equalize the situation, he'll invest in the SUNYs in upstate. And that's what the SUNY had, the upstate had with the SUNY system. We want to go back now in this economic crisis and take those SUNYs and private schools upstate, but built on the SUNYs, and make them the economic engine of recovery. And make those SUNY campuses tax-free areas for start-up businesses. We now lose 75% of our startup companies in the first year. 75% of our startup companies in the first year. Why? Taxes. They're young, they're starting up, they move, or a venture capital investor comes in, invests in them, picks them up, and brings them to a low-tax state, the Carolinas, Florida, Texas, states that have no tax. We have to stop that exodus of the jobs. We're creating them in our schools, but they're leaving. If you have a tax-free SUNY entrepreneurial community, there is no reason to leave the state because no one can have a better competitive advantage. We also want to make it eligible to private campuses, 3 million square feet. When we say tax-free, we mean no business tax, no sales tax, no property tax, no franchise fee, and no income tax for the owners or the employees. Eligible space, when you add up the SUNY system and you add up the private colleges, is 120 million square feet. Is that a lot or a little? 120 million square feet is more commercial space than is in San Francisco and Philadelphia combined, believe it or not. It is more commercial space than Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse combined. This is a major, major tract of land and commercial opportunity that I believe is going to give upstate New York a whole new lease on economic life, because it's going to take that number one obstacle of taxes and in many ways eliminate it in one fell swoop. And when you're talking about a tax-free environment and all the assets of the great state of New York, what could be better than that winning combination? We did what we said we were going to do back in January when we did the State of the State. In the meantime, between January and today, some other things popped up. We had a rash of scandals in the headlines that dealt with several individuals in the legislature who did some bad, venial, or really stupid things, as they use a technical word. And what it has done is it has served to shake the public's trust in the state government. And restoring the trust is very important. Why? Because we consider the relationship that the citizens have with this state probably the most important asset. Because any relationship is only as good as the level of trust. I don't care if it's a friendship, I don't care if it's a marriage, I don't care whatever it is. It's only as good as the level of trust. And if people don't believe their government, then that government by definition is self-limited. And right now, over these past few months, their trust has been shaken. And we want to restore it, and I'm going to put together a commission pursuant to something called the Moreland Act, which gives me legal authority to set up an investigations commission. I'm going to put the best law enforcement minds from across the state. They will do a thorough investigation of the state government, make recommendations to make it a better state government, and I also want the people of this state to know the true story of state government. It does work well. Yes, there are some bad actors in the legislature, but that is by far the apple and not the bunch. And I want the true story told. To the extent we need to make reforms, we will, because we want the people of the state to have total confidence in its government because they deserve it. This January, we said New York is rising. I think when we get to June, it's clear that New York is rising. And my last point is this. We have done a lot over these past 2 years, a lot of progress on a lot of levels. And you can feel the energy, and you can feel the momentum. You know, when I was in Washington, fly into a city, and I would literally count the number of cranes as you were pulling in to the airport. Because the number of cranes in some way is a litmus test of the economic health. Are you building, are you developing, are you growing, or are you shrinking? Because you're either going forwards in life or you're going backwards. For a lot of years, there were not cranes in the sky above Buffalo. Today, the cranes are back, and the work is back, and the energy is back, and you can feel it. You can feel it everywhere you go. There are signs of it everywhere. You go to the waterfront, that's a different waterfront. You go to downtown, what's going on with the medical campus. All over, you feel the energy, and you feel the positive energy. We're even reacting differently. There's much more of a spirit of corroboration and collaboration rather than competition. And people are believing in Buffalo once again. And to me, that's the major element. This city, this region is going to be what we make it. And with our talents and our abilities, if we are committed to making Western New York as strong as it can be, it will. And I know we are. And we are on our way. Thank you for having us today. Join me with signing the bill.